Hello, welcome to Carson's Conversations.
And that's something like I've noticed about this topic is when people have been so wrapped up in social media and technology and then their digital lives that they've hidden themselves from the world almost. Like people kind of like shut out the realer side of themselves and like what they're passionate about to be something that they're not on their social media accounts.
Yeah,
Right?
that's earlier when the third topic that I said at the beginning was kind of like the social hierarchy of high school, which is really really interesting, and especially how technology plays into that because you'll see people that are the super popular kids,
Yeah.
and they're the most self conscious people there
Oh yeah. Definitely.
because they want to be perfect, they want to show off to as many people as possible, and they're just like, I gotta be this, I gotta be that. Like, no, don't just be yourself, and inevitably you're gonna become the better version of you, and more people will actually like you, right?
See, but with people like that, it's verification for themselves.
Yeah.
People get so self conscious. I gotta start from like the beginning of
Yeah,
my thought.
go for it. Yeah, for
So,
sure.
people are influenced by what they see on the internet, whether
Mhm.
it's Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. You're always gonna see models or like the fitness guys, whatever. The dudes that are super buff have that 6 pack and like
Mhm.
washboard abs, and like the girls with like super thick and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm the first person that should admit, like I've been
Yeah.
following some of those pages for a while, and I'm at a point where it's just like this isn't healthy, you know.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
not good for you.
some of this stuff like isn't achievable within a lifetime of work. Not to say like if you want to look a certain way, by all means,
Yeah.
go for it. But some of this stuff is so unhealthy. Like people throw away everything just to try and look like that, right? Cause
Yeah. Even just like people doing crazy things to themselves just so they get views is kind of
Mhm.
ridiculous at this point, where it's just like they're so infatuated with people seeing what they're doing and people following them and living by likes, engaging themselves how good of a person they are on their likes, that has just become it's toxic, really.
See, that's what it is, though. It's verification. With
Yeah.
these people, the way for them to feel good about themselves is another like, it's another
Mhm.
comment, another follow, another 1,000 followers, right? That's the way that they kind of get gratification and verification to make themselves feel good about what they're doing,
Yeah.
right? It's that popularity, that status. You want people to think that you're living this life, and you want people to see like, oh, I got all this stuff. I got a car. I got money. I got this. I'm popping whatever. But it's out of it's
I
at a
can see
point
you're
now.
so passionate
Yeah,
about this, man. Like
it's
you're,
frustrating
yeah.
because it's happened to a lot of people I care about, right? And people are so infatuated with this social media and this digital age stuff, like they lose track of what's really important to them. People are so focused about posting pictures and getting likes and getting follows and getting all these different clothes and shoes and all that stuff, and they throw away everything else that's really important to them, like whether it's school, getting a job, having a social life, actually interacting with people that aren't like
On their phones.
aren't on their phones,
Yeah.
right? And I think we've just lost that touch in this age and generation.
It's very true, and it's a huge topic too, and
Yeah.
there's so much content for you to talk about,
Yeah.
and that's another issue that I not really an issue, but that's something I want to bring up for me on this podcast I talk about a lot of like marketing and stuff like that. What's the furthest level that you think, or what's the best way to do something marketing without making it seem like, oh, this is how to live your life or something like that? Like, do you understand what I mean? Like
Yeah.
where do you think the furthest point in marketing is?
I think things like vlogs or creating a blog, whatever, things like that are great.
Mm-hmm.
When you're just kind of like taking people through like a day in the life, whatever, like, hey, this is what I do. I work out, I do this, I study,
Mhm.
I have work, I have a job. I think that's great. That's healthy. You're kind of like encouraging people to live that lifestyle to.
For sure.
I shouldn't say encouraging people to live that lifestyle, but you're
Yeah.
just kind of giving people insight as to what you do, like what's normal in your daily life. But then there's people who take that a step above, right? And they'll include things like going shopping. Like you'll see all over YouTube, you'll see like those clickbait pictures, like $2,000 like pair of sneakers,
Yeah,
like
or like, oh, I just bought my friend a car.
I just bought
like,
my friend a car, like
Yeah, it's so
things like that.
materialistic.
It's so materialistic, and you don't really get anything out of it except like verification
Exactly.
when you
And
post things like
it's
that.
such a difficult topic to kind of navigate too. Yeah, so I wanted to build my own company. I tried and tried and tried. I had a little bit of experience, maybe a year or so managing a small t-shirt company kind of thing. Not really managing, but helping the guy out. And that was really, really fun. I really enjoyed it. And that also created a spark for like, wow, maybe I can do this. And I don't really have to leave my house or figure something out like that where I won't have to be traveling too much or something like that. But also the traveling part is very enticing and I really want to do something like that. But yeah, so it was media management. I wanted to go around with small businesses and find out a way to make their Instagram accounts, their social media accounts just way better than it already is. And I started to realize no business was going to trust a 16-year-old with their business's image. So I was just like, okay, how am I going to work around this? And I tried and tried for about a year and it didn't work out. And I couldn't get any jobs even though I was emailing constantly, trying to set up meetings or do something like that, or talking with local restaurants saying, hey, we can do this. I have a friend photographer that can help me out. Shout out to Blake. He can help you. We have a great photographer. He does tons of stuff, tons of experience. He can help us out. And then they were like, nope, not a chance. They didn't really say not a chance to my face, but it was kind of read between the lines, right? And they were like, not a chance. So yeah, that was a really fun experience, just finding out how I'm gonna move around that. And that's kind of what sparked after I read Gary's book was, don't worry about it now. Figure out a way to build a brand around yourself, and then people will come to you. And that's and I've kind of even seen that in the past couple days, where I've made just kind of a quick little, Carson's Conversations. People have been texting me out of the blue just saying, hey, can I come on the podcast? Can I come on the podcast? Some of them don't really have a topic or anything in mind, but that'd be kind of fun. I guess I got to grow bigger before I can have kind of random people on or something like that, but it'd be definitely really, really fun. So building the brand around myself is going to hopefully start with just the podcast. And then I want to expand into bigger things. I'm not really sure what those bigger things are going to be. Like, I'm going to stay with social media, keep growing those. The Instagram account's working out really, really well. And so I'm using this I'm using this platform just to grow the name around myself. So in the future, if I ever go to a company or I go back to business, or go back fully into making my own business and media management, they'll be like, oh, geez, this guy's got a whole bunch of followers. We'll accept his stuff. He's making tons of content. Maybe he can do that for us. So that's kind of where my mindset is right now, where I'm just like, I got to put as much content as possible. And that's why I got that heavy 3-day posting schedule and having a whole bunch of people come in, which is really, really nice.
To help minorities and African Americans is simply untrue. And the point I'm getting at is, I know we're talking about American history here, but the point is you have to challenge the status quo. We're not taught to think critically in school. It's not no. They really want people to conform, and I don't want collectivism. I want rugged individuality. The West was built on rugged individuality. I don't want everybody acting, speaking, thinking the same. We don't want to be like the Borg in Star Trek. I don't want to be 3 of 5.
Yeah.
I want to be Daniel. You want to be Carson.
For sure.
And what makes this country great is the fact that you can have one set of opinions that differ from mine, but if we could shake hands at the end of the day and call ourselves Canadian.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. For me, a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. It doesn't matter if you're a European Canadian, an African Canadian. It doesn't matter. A Canadian is a Canadian. So when there's this divisive talk about you're racist if you're against illegal immigration and this sort of thing, no, that's not true. We're fighting for all Canadians, all across the board, all ethnicities. And to me, I'd like to see us fully, assimilate to the point where we just simply call ourselves Canadians. We're one of the only countries in the world where if I say, hey, what are you? You'll never answer Canadian. You'll say I'm Italian or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very true. It's so many different things too that brings everybody in. It's such a multicultural place. So you were talking earlier about so I brought up, you were talking about Italians and stuff like that, and how being able to have such a multicultural place in Canada allows you to see so many different things, and how you're a little Italian and you've been to Italy when you were into Rome for your honeymoon.
Yep.
And there's just so many different crazy experiences that you've had. Just be able, because you can go to one place and that's all that stuff happens.
Yep.
All the world is pretty much packaged in Canada.
Yep.
Which is so great because every Canadian's got their own way of doing things, right?
It is. My mother was born in Portugal, and she She came with my grandparents in search of a better life, and Canada was just so amazing for them. My grandfather was a private business owner, and then he worked for a union later on in construction. And this country has been very good to my family on both sides. And we need to learn that the word assimilate is not a dirty word. My family on my mother's side learned to assimilate to the Canadian culture, to our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Our charter is one of the greatest documents. It really covers everything, from religious freedom to freedom of expression and that. And it's really just, when I say a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian, my dream is that we just all identify as Canadians. If we're born here, that we all just adopt this great nation and we stop this divisiveness and we just accept each other as we should. That we even drop the hyphen, that we're just Canadians. You know what I mean? That would be the best unity of all.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
If end of story. If as long as everybody can just be Canadian,
yeah,
it doesn't matter what you are or who you are, whatever you do.
Still being able to practice your traditions, your religious traditions, your family traditions, your ethnic traditions. But in the end, we're all Canadians. We all assimilate to our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and that to me is the greatest thing of all. That to me would be the simplest, most beautiful thing. Most things aren't complicated. People make things complicated.
Very true.